Dave Akers, the alternate on Community Services. We ready to go? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We will call the August 26, 2014 meeting of Mount Pearl City Council to order and welcome everybody. I know that Councillor Stoyles is out of the province and won't be with us today. I'm not sure where Councillor Aker is. I'm expecting him at any time, but we have a quorum in-house, so we will now begin. The first order of business would be the agenda, which I'm assuming everybody now has in front of them. I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented, moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Are there any additions to the agenda beyond this one sheet of paper, which I have showing, I believe, an expanded number of invoices for approval when we get to that point? Is there any other addition to be added to the agenda at this time? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. The next item would be the minutes and action report of our meeting of August 12th, of the public meeting of August 12th. The first of all, I will entertain a motion to accept it as presented, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any errors or omissions that need to be identified at this time? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Hearing none, call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Are there any business arising issues stemming from the meeting, again, of August 12th? If you would refer to an agenda number, Councillor Tessier.
Item number 549, the cease and desist order to Country Ribbon. Just wondering if we've received any of the documentation that was required in order to lift that cease and desist. 549,
cease and desist order. Director Yefchek. I've demoted you again. You're no longer Councillor Yefchek today.
Oh, no, that's a promotion.
I feel much more comfortable in my...
Yeah, is that a demotion or a promotion?
No, that's a promotion.
That's a promotion. Okay.
Your Worship, we have met with the representatives of Country Ribbon. They have provided us with information. It is their intention to get the work done as quickly as possible. And we're still on track with the September 5th date. So things are in order at this point. That's
okay.
Best way to put it. Okay.
They are still operating then out of that building as it sits today.
We gave them until September 5th. And
we've given them until September 5th through the order, and we're still...
And they have responded in a very quick manner.
So they are working toward that deadline as well.
So let's hope that by September 5th this will be a non-issue.
Okay. Any other business arising from the minutes of...
This one, Your Worship?
On this one,
just the movie in the park there. I just wanted to, because it's in the minutes here.
What item?
I'm sorry, 534. Held on August 14th.
Yes.
The weather was a little questionable that night, but I guess we probably had 30 or 40 people out, and... But I just want to throw kudos and congrats out to the community services staff for putting it off. And I think they prepared for 500 people. They had, I think, donation of popcorn and chips for 500 people. So the good news was that people who were there could go back time and time.
They cleaned up.
They could go back for 4th, 5th, 20th, 30th. So, but it was a great show. I mean, the facility out there, the movie, the sound, everything was great. And those that did attend, I think the weather held off, but it was one of those nights where it was sort of hit and miss. But those that did come out had a great time, and I just wanted to, again, throw out congratulations and thanks to our staff for putting that off.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Any other business arising? One more. Councillor Tessier, go ahead.
I know.
Numbers.
I know. Actually, in speaking about the movie, I know that I saw on social media the next day there was people talking about it, how great it was, and there was a couple of people who responded to it saying, I didn't know this was happening. And so I'm hoping that this is something that we will continue. I mean, right now, our summer, I think is very safe to say, is history.
Oh, please don't do that.
Well, it kind of feels like it. September is beautiful, though. September is always beautiful. Always beautiful in this province. But anyway, it is... What's that?
It's also part of summer.
I know. Wow.
3 weeks anyway.
Wow. Yep. And we're crossing fingers, toes, and eyes. But anyway, I hope that's something that we continue. But I wanted to mention 556, the painting of the utility boxes. Your Worship, have you noticed that some of the utility boxes up and down Commonwealth Avenue have been primed a beautiful shade of white?
Yes, I've noticed.
And some of them may actually even have a splash of color on them already.
I spoke with Director Collins about it just this day. and he tells me that we're going to have 4 done. 4 are now under commission to be done,
That's correct.
and that he anticipates we will get 8 done. That's a good start.
That's a good start.
And I
That's a
know
good
you're
start.
doing one,
I am.
Arthas Tessier.
Mine has gone from primed white to a lovely shade of lime green right now, waiting for a fine day to start putting on some more color.
Okay, look forward to seeing it.
No.
No, it's going to be
Leave it
nice.
white and call it fall. Call it snow. I call it snow.
Jason Collins, where are the 4 boxes that are being done? I know the one here at the corner by Ashford Sales. That's the one you're doing, Councillor? That's yours. Where are the others being done?
Richard Nolan.
One on Richard Nolan, one on Topsail Road,
I believe one down by Admiralty House.
and one by Admiralty House. So we've only got, what, about 480 more to go? Okay, we're making progress.
There's a bit of debate or questions on people wanting one close to the summer, actually.
Well, that one should get done. I think the ones going up Ruth Avenue anyway should be done.
Ruth Avenue would be good as well.
That gets done every year.
Yeah, gets done every week.
Well, hopefully with these boxes, and I know that the City of St. John's has had them painted down for years, and generally I haven't seen any amount of graffiti on the boxes that have been painted. So hopefully there will be that, honor amongst these, I suppose, with the boxes that are painted. But I think Commonwealth Avenue is a great stretch now to get started. I agree with you, Ruth Avenue would be absolutely wonderful. And depending on how long it takes the boxes, I mean, some of the people who are painting them, if it doesn't take an onerous amount of time, they may be willing to do a second. I know we've got some art students who might be willing to do a second if they
They're
can
ready
come
to
up
go,
with different
yeah.
concepts.
The weather the past couple of weeks.
Oh, the weather.
Yeah.
The weather.
Yeah.
The shoreline.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had 3 weeks in July and could have done them all. Just saying. If you had the bodies.
Well, it's too hot to paint them.
Any other business arising? Okay, hearing none, we'll go back to the agenda. Council, the next item on our agenda is a presentation, and I attended a meeting. Deputy Mayor, were you with me at that meeting? The meeting with the Green Team. Were you there? Councillor Stoyles was there. We attended a meeting with the Green Team as they wrapped up their season with us this year. And at the end of that session, they did a presentation for us, and I asked if they could have a representative come and do the presentation for council, to give council some insight into what the Green Team did this year, the kind of activities that they undertook, and the amount of work that they did. To that end, as you can appreciate, these are very busy young people. But we do have one member of the Green Team who either volunteered or was voluntold. I'm not sure how it works. Everybody else is out of town. So Julia Spry is here, and she was with the Green Team all summer and worked with them, and she is going to come and talk to us. Julia, if you would, I'm going to get you to come up here to this microphone with me. And I'm going to invite all of council to look at the screens there next to us, and she's going to give us some insight into all of the work and activity that the Green Team undertook in Mount Pearl this summer. So, Julia, we're going to turn the floor over to you.
This work?
That's good, yeah.
All right, so first is our summer goals. We had 4 summer goals, which was, one was a physical cleanup of the Waterford River, the second was the community garden area cleanup, the third was Adopt a River, and fourth, environmental awareness events. First was the physical cleanup. Our main target areas were the main branch of Waterford River and the tributaries, which is Flynn's Brook and Tyrots Brook, and our hotspots. We've also marked down some unsafe areas, which are the intersection of Sagona and Clyde, and the west of Corisande, parallel to Topsail Road. And these are some pictures of the whereabouts of the unsafe areas. And also with the physical cleanup, our 5 most common types of litter were plastic bags, beverage containers, packaging, styrofoam, and rusted metal. List of our hotspots: Commonwealth Avenue Bridge, Twin Falls, which is a teenage hangout, Aspenwood Place Wetland, Donovan Street Playground, and some new ones we've marked down this year was Commonwealth Barricade, Corisande Drive hotspot, and a Glencoe Drive cul-de-sac.
What is a barricade?
We found it, it's kind of near behind Piper's, and there's these, I don't know if they're man-made dams, but they're just trees put across, and it's all built up with garbage. Like, we couldn't even tackle it. It was only 4 of us. So we couldn't, like, it was taller than our tallest member. I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm the shortest. But there's like 2 of these big, like, barges in, like, blocking parts of the river. I don't know if they're there on purpose for something, but they're filled up with garbage. Everything's getting caught in it.
I think they're windfalls, because I think the owner of the Piper's Mall indicated to me at one time that they were concerned about that, because during high flow, that causes
This causes backup.
some flooding.
Yeah, the trees looked like they were supposed to be there, but there's garbage stuck in it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Falls of the trees
So did we
blown
get it
over.
cleaned up at all, or? did
We
get
couldn't get to it, but
our
we
own staff?
we put it on a GPS, and that's all we've got like done for now. But it's going to be
Director of Public Works is ready furiously.
yeah. Good luck. Here's some pictures of Aspen Place wetland, and this is actually the Commonwealth barricade here. It's not a very good picture because, but when you go down, that thing that's taller than me, and there's 2 of them.
Unbelievable. Eh?
And the large items found in the river, these are ones that weren't baggable. We got metal rods, large plastic pieces, wooden boards, bikes. We got 9 bikes. Lawn chairs.
Those numbers represent the numbers of
Mhm.
them.
How
There were
many?
9 bikes in the river.
Approximately. City blockades, scooters, shopping carts, sidings, hubcaps, pickaxe, computer chairs, car doors, car tires, ladder, a washer, fire pit, steering wheel, hood of a truck, garage door, a bed frame, a really heavy pillow, coffee tables, miscellaneous car parts, and like unrecognizable metal pieces.
Yeah, before you switch off from that, metal, these 50 metal rods, this was industrial stuff? That
These are
came from-
pipes that are like probably about like between a foot and 2 feet long, and there's just so many of them. They're like pipings
Were they in
from
one area? Or
They're
are they-
everywhere.
They're everywhere throughout?
Yeah, sometimes they were
What's causing that, I wonder? No? Pipes.
They were just like really old rusted pipes. Yeah,
I would have thought it would be rebar too, but,
they're like they could be from anything. Right? Like they're so rusty you can't tell what they are exactly.
So where did the shopping carts come from? Were we able to identify? There's 4
No.
of them. It doesn't say, like, Coleman's. or
Half of them were
Dominion or
like in
anything.
pieces.
Oh,
Most
is that
of them were
right? It's
pieces.
bits and pieces and
There's
parts
one
of
full
all this
one,
stuff.
but we couldn't tell what it
Okay.
was.
City blockades are these little hobby horse type things.
Yeah, the orange they painted orange. Yeah.
It's some of these things, I mean, while they're obviously clearly garbage, some things are dangerous, like a
Very.
pickaxe.
Oh,
There was
all
2 of
kinds
those.
stuff.
Yeah, 2, it was just pickaxe heads, like just top of them.
Really dangerous.
Oh yeah. That one was heavy.
Amazing. Amazing. So you got most of this stuff out of the river.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the community garden area cleanup. Our team was able to designate a day to clean up the area set for a potential community garden. We obtained 5 bags of garbage, a bucket of glass, and numerous items that couldn't be bagged. This is an area that we had designated just for glass cleaning because there was so much there. I got one kitty litter bucket full of glass.
What kind of glass?
Everything. I think it used to be a dumping site, so there's just broken glass everywhere. Like,
So if we're going to actually designate that a community garden, a different kind of cleanup than what you guys did is going to be required?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And next is our Adopt a River project. It's an initiative started by us, the Green Team, to carry on our efforts through the Mount Pearl business community. Similar to the Adopt a Park, we have begun to introduce business owners to ways they can take ownership of our city's most valuable asset and commit to keeping the Waterford River clean and beautiful. And our environmental awareness events. We did 5. First one was the Mount Pearl City Days. It was project-based, and an information booth was set up, a milk carton boat race, and a scavenger hunt where the kids would have to come to the booth. I actually raced in the boat, like me and one other girl from my team. We did the boat race. We didn't win because we got our boat brought in late, so we kind of just went against the winning team. But it stayed up, and we had a really awesome-looking boat. I was wet. Yeah. I said we were going to go down in style if we did. And next was the Kilbride Youth Center. We did 2 there. The first one was ages 6 to 8, and the second was 7 to 10, and they were both climate change based. And the Goulds Rec Center were ages 6 to 10, and was also climate changed. And the movie in the park, we played environmental games with the kids and before the movie, and we did environmental trivia. Here's some pictures. The first one is Anna. She's gearing up, putting on her hip waders. The second and third is our first day on the job. 4 is like basically planning out our routes for the day. 5th is with our regional supervisor, Megan Hollett. And 6 is us actually making parts for the boat race. And we collected over 80 bags of garbage and many items that couldn't be bagged. And here are just some examples, like the fireplace, a garage door, really big ladder, and a computer chair, and yeah, it goes on.
And on and on.
The sad part is they're deliberately dumped, you know.
Oh, it's gross.
Is a lot of it new? It's really hard to tell, I guess.
Most of it's old.
It's
Like,
been there a long time.
like it's so old you can't, like most of it, you can't recognize it.
We thought we had the river cleaned up, eh?
There's lots to do, yeah. And here's some more pictures. This is us building the boat. The second is us stretching, because since we have to bend in really awkward ways, we have to make sure we're not hurting ourselves. 3 is...
That's what it's all about.
3 is like a picture near one part of the river which we cleaned. And 4 is Noel and Anna in their boots in action.
Tell them about the sticks.
God, I love the sticks. Like,
Just want you
I would
to
talk
know.
about them all the time. We have these big poles
Yes,
with a
they
hook on
do.
the end,
With a hook on the end,
and
no less.
like I use it to help me stand up in the river because I'm really clumsy and I'm always tripping and things. So I use it to help me hold myself up, and I use it to like grab things stuck in the trees or touch. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
And how many of these poles did the team have, I wonder?
We had a lot.
You had lots, did you?
Yeah, like
I wonder how
yes. I was gonna say that.
I
Like
wonder how that came about.
it was every day. I'd be like, I was like, God bless
Whoever
Randy
did that.
for these. These are great.
Reg wants you to call him, Reg.
I bought them from Reg. Reg made them all.
They're fantastic. Like
Yeah, they're good for cleaning up on the
they're
side of the river. I
lifesaver.
gotta say, I was impressed with them. And we got like a dozen, I think.
yeah, they were great. And I even use them as like a walking stick, just walking down the path if I felt like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Julia, very much. Does anybody have any questions for Julia? No, it's all been said. Thank you, Julia, very much. An absolute great job. Thank you. The team, the green team. The green team is both a wonderful idea and to be honest, all credit to staff and to Mr. Kelly over here, who's been a significant driver behind the team this year. We have actually taken these teams of young people, and we've had 3 or 4 now over the years. Right? We had 2 last year. We've had 4 now. It's not only work experience for the young people, but it's a tremendous experience for the city as well, and gives us sometimes an insight into some things that we don't necessarily like to admit. To see that stuff coming out of the river and that list, for me, it kind of reconfirms the reality that if we are ever going to achieve our goal, that we want the cleanest urban river in the country, we're going to need a full court press that goes beyond anything we've experienced or done up to now, and we're going to need a partnership that's stronger than the one we currently have with our neighbors, both in Paradise and in St. John's. I know our relationship with Rotary is fantastic, and I think we're going to see big things come out of that agreement. But I do want to pass along to the people who sponsor the Green Team, which is the Conservation Corps, our heartfelt thanks for driving an initiative like this and for partnering with us and allowing us this opportunity to both work with young people, which is something we love to do, and on such a worthwhile cause. And I want you, Julia, to pass along once again. I know I said it at the luncheon we had, but I want council to be apprised of it. Pass along to everybody involved, including your supervisors, again, how very impressed we were with the work done. and we look forward to this partnership continuing. And you're still doing high school, right? So you can come back next year. That's all I'm going to say, Mr. Kelly. Okay. Anybody else with a comment, a final comment at all on this? What do you think? Pretty good summer's work these kids did for us?
Great summer's work. It's extremely...
Councillor Tessier.
Talking as I'm sitting. You got a good tan. That's good. July was good to you. It's extremely frustrating, though, when you think about it. When you think about the garbage collection services that we offer. Bulk garbage, we've got weekly garbage collection, so there's 80 bags of bagged garbage that was picked up, and numerous items that could not be bagged. When you look at our weekly garbage collection, our garbage cart system, the bulk collection that we offer now, the amenities offered at Robin Hood Bay, there's absolutely no reason that anybody can ever come up with that would make this acceptable, to take a chair or to take a washer, or like we collect metals, and to put it in the river or to throw it in the woods behind their houses. There's absolutely no excuse for it. I find it extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It's frustrating, but it goes to show that when I use the term full court press, there's an education piece that's got to happen. There's got to be some kind of an enforcement piece that's got to happen. This is, I think it's fair to say, the kind of indiscriminate dumping that gets talked about in larger form in different areas than ours. But nonetheless, that's still what it is. You know, it's this indiscriminate dumping. It seems to be confined to some areas. What I like very much out of this whole thing we saw that the Green Team did this year is the adopt a river concept. And in particular, I believe that we have to both provide some kind of incentive down the road, a carrot, if you will, as well as some type of regulatory stick. And we're going to have a relationship or a partnership with all of our industrial and commercial players who currently live on the river. When we did our cleanup day earlier, Julia, this spring when we first started, we did an area, it was my first time doing an area actually through the industrial park, through the business park. And it was obvious that 90% of the garbage that we're picking up in that river came from that building there, that next one to it. It came from these places. We have to form a stronger partnership and relationship with those businesses going down the road. So, you know, but for now, it's one thing to point out our challenges, but let's be honest, we've tackled a lot in the last few years. We are making great progress, and having the Green Team has been a tremendous help.
Just another point here, Your Worship. One thing that I did note that Julia said that a lot of the materials were old. They were rusted. Some suggested that it may have come from back in the day when the railroad was on the go. So, right. So that's a good thing, in that it's all older material. Now, the pillow and the mattress and the garage door and stuff like that. But I also noticed in Julia's presentation that most of the items were wrappings. There were plastics and styrofoam, and so that was the bulk of it. You know, so you know, plastic bags and stuff like that. So it's not just the industrial park. No doubt is an area, and I like the adopt a river process. But also targeting that, how do you get this, I call it, residential or consumer litter that gets thrown about. And again, we bring it up every year now. School is going to start next week, and I'm going to request again that we have more receptacles put in place going up and down Ruth Avenue, because you got, several thousand kids going out to lunch every day. And that's the stuff that's ending up in our trees. It's the wrappers from, the fast food places and the styrofoam cups and the paper cups and stuff like that. So while there was a lot of 80 bags taken out, I took some good out of the fact that most of the materials were older materials. So maybe it is a sign that people are becoming more conscious of the environment, and hopefully after another 4 years of this we won't need a Green Team, and that the residents will adopt the proper attitude towards our river. Anyways, congrats to Julie and her team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comment? Thank you again, Julia. Thank you very much, Don. Appreciate it, Mr. Kelly. On that note, we will move along. Under correspondence today, we have one piece of correspondence to table. It is a letter to me from the Honourable Kevin O'Brien, the Minister responsible for Newfoundland and Labrador housing. And this is in reference to our support for an FCM initiative dealing with affordable housing and funding arrangements for affordable housing in the country. And we have stood firmly by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in demanding that new funding arrangements, including current funding arrangements, be maintained in the longer term. This is of critical importance to the province. So we sent a copy of all of that to the minister, and the minister has responded to our correspondence that we sent to him and pointed out in his letter to us, which I would point out to council, that Newfoundland and Labrador Housing Corporation owns and operates over 5,584 residential housing units right now in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and that a lack of CMHC funding, which is really federal money, a lack of funding will impact not only future growth in social housing, which is so desperately needed in our community, it will also impact on the housing that already exists. So I tabled it for the interest and information of council. If anybody has a comment beyond that, Councillor Walsh, if you would.
I just want to. Well, I think the tone of the response from the minister says a lot. I think the federal, provincial, municipal governments, their interest in pursuing affordable or social housing, however you want to refer to it, is obviously very real. The City of Mount Pearl have taken on a number of critical initiatives. The Municipal Avenue one, unfortunately, has been challenged, but it's one of several great projects that the city has in the hopper for affordable housing. If you look at our demographic and you look at the amount of land that's available in Mount Pearl in particular, Your Worship, obviously any kind of new affordable housing initiatives, for the most part, are going to have to be some form of infill housing. And that means that you're going to be putting housing, affordable housing or social housing, in neighborhoods that already exist. And very often these are some of the traditional areas, because the new areas have not allowed for this and have been pretty much totally developed. I just think that the tone, the tenor of the email, and of course our own initiatives speak volumes about our commitment as a council to affordable housing. We're going to continue with that. We're going to continue to identify lands, and we need to make sure that we continue to serve notice to people that these things are coming, and they're becoming not because we're driving that agenda, but because that agenda is being driven by the need for affordable housing. We're reacting to it and trying to provide, and it is identified as one of the key strategic initiatives of this council to try to respond to the need, the void that exists in our community for affordable social housing. And I just wanted to thank the minister for highlighting that as well.
Thank you. Any other comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move along. The next item, we move to committee reports. First would be our Community Services Committee report. Deputy Mayor Locke, the floor is yours.
First thing, Your Worship, the Arena Board of Management. We're asking to release the final installment of their operating grant for $51,329, and I so move.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Locke. It's going to be seconded by Councillor Aker. Question or comment? All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Next is the tender for the aquatics chemicals. For supply and delivery, we're requesting that Rockwater Professional Products be awarded this. They're the lowest bidder and they met all specs, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
The third item, Your Worship, is the Mount Pearl Summit Centre, and I do believe you had a little tour of that today. Is that correct?
I had a little tour today with the mayor of Corner Brook.
Oh, really?
And I actually had Director Collins and Director Antle were there with me. They were more than up to the task of bragging at the appropriate level for my benefit. We took...
and rightly so.
The mayor of Corner Brook did, in the end, pay the price. He saw the pipes. He actually was below the pool to see the pipes. He was blown away by that facility, I will tell you that, and very, very impressed with the actual facility, the construction and everything. But I got to tell you what he inquired about more than anything other than that, which was good. He's very intrigued with the challenges we're going to face programming that facility. He sees a huge demand beyond anything that we have imagined, and he may be right. He may be right. There are going to be challenges for community services and our staff, but hey, it's the right kind of challenge to have. Yeah,
indeed.
See, we've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
We've gotten used to seeing, well, not used to, but like we know it enough now to know it, to anticipate what anybody who's new.
Who's walking in? Yeah. Very, 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 very impressive. And I see, by the way, just for everybody's notification. I don't know if we really want to stop it, but maybe we have to. But there are people sneaking around the building. Have you noticed that? A couple of people there today who just wandered in off the street, da-da-da-da-da, through an open door. Saw two seniors there today having a look around. But the building is fairly safe now. I don't think we're dealing with any kind of major construction going on where you got people barred out.
Still liability issues.
Doors are open and a couple of people wandering around, but you know what? When it's all said and done, it's going to be fantastic.
Good stuff. So, Your Worship, I bring this up just to let the public know that we're scheduled to open soon, and as you saw today, the bulk of it is done. We're just putting some final touches on it, and just to remind folks that this is a massive undertaking. I know you make light of all the pipes, and this is
no, every one of them got a purpose.
Yeah, this is the biggest project that we've undertaken in the city, and from an aquatic centre, I suggest that we're probably one of the biggest in Atlantic Canada, the most complex, the most environmentally green. So we're putting our final touches on it, and we're going to be opening soon. Just encourage. I know a lot of residents are anxious about it. They're asking about when they can go for a dip and when they can try out the walking track and stuff like that.
Did you know that everything up there, all the lights in that are on motion sensors?
Oh, good.
Yeah. When you walk in, like to a dressing room, the lights come on. When you walk in, you don't have to turn anything on.
Right.
They come on, go off. It's very, very neat.
Yeah.
It's
anyways,
neat.
just to remind folks that we're opening soon, and we're going through the final phases of it, and we want to make sure that everything is in place before we open the doors. Within the next week or so, we're going to have our occupancy permit, and then, of course, we've got to get our staff in place. They got to become familiar with it. My understanding is they've had an orientation. Our staff has had a go-through. So we're gearing up. I know residents are excited. Council is excited and anxious to get the building open. But as you just said, Your Worship, when it does get open, the public is going to be wowed, and they're truly going to appreciate this facility. So, I know people are anxious. We're getting there, slowly but surely. We want to make sure that when we finally open the doors, and we do it right, that when we do things here in the City of Mount Pearl right, we want to make sure that everything is in place before we open the doors for our residents to come in and enjoy, and our neighbours, of course. The next item, Your Worship, is the Fall Activity Guide. Just an advisory to the residents that the Activity Guide will be delivered to households next week, September 2nd to the 5th. I can't believe September is here already.
No, I can't either.
But next week they will have the Fall Activity Guide. And the last item for our committee, Your Worship, has to do with the aquatic program registration as well as general program registration. Just to notice there that aquatic program registration will take place beginning at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, September the 9th for Mount Pearl residents, and this will be online registration only. And then a couple of days later, on Thursday, September the 11th, we will open it to non-residents, and that will start at 5 p.m. So residents get the opportunity at 5 p.m. on the 9th of September, and again, it's online registration. Fall swimming lessons and instructional programs will begin at the Mount Pearl Pool, September 22nd, and our rec swims will start on September the 8th. And once our new summit is open and our new aquatic center is ready to go, these activities will then be transferred to our new summit center.
Will they get transferred as part of our soft opening?
Yep.
Good. Okay.
So we'll transfer that. The next item has to do with the general program registration, Your Worship, for activities at both our Reed Community Center and our Kenmount Park Community Center. Registration will begin at 6 a.m. on Monday, September the 8th. Registration will be accepted in person at the Reed Community Center, with many programs also having online registration opportunities as well, and that will begin at the same time. The fall programs and registration details, of course, will be posted to the city's website, and of course by August 28th, and also will be found in our fall activity guide, which again will be delivered next week. And that's it for our committee, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. Corporate Services, Councillor Aker.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item here is recommendation coming from the Committee for some Professional Development, Councillors Tessier, Walsh, as well as the CAO to attend the MNL Convention in Corner Brook, October 9th to the 11th, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Tessier.
Let me introduce you.
Questions? All those in favor? Contrary-minded motion is carried.
Thank you all. Number 2, here we have an assessment review commissioner appointment, and we recommend that Mr. Donald Peckham be appointed to be the city's assessment review commissioner for taxation years 2015 to 2017. That appointment would actually take effect from the date of appointment to June 30th, 2017. Mr. Peckham's role will be to review any assessment appeals that basically are coming back from assessments done by the Municipal Assessment Agency. And I need a motion for that, please. I so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Number 3 is invoices for council's approval, and we're moving to the piece of paper that you found on your desk. There's a couple items added. We have 11 invoices totaling $3,816,385.77, noting that number 11 there in the amount of $3.3 million is a payment to Marco for the new Summit Center certificate, or payment number 27, as well as a payment here for Farrell's Excavating for upgrading to Sagona. I might add they did a wonderful job. It's really nice to drive down Sagona now. They did a fantastic job on that. And I'd like to move that we approve these payments.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any question or comment, again, on these items listed 1 through to 11? Any? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. And that concludes corporate services altogether. Infrastructure and public works. Deputy.
Now, did I get a
I've got
promotion
Deputy
too?
Mayor here,
Did
but
I
I
get a
think we're going
promotion?
to. I think
Did
we're
I
going
hear
to
a
promote you
promotion in
back. Councillor Walsh, we're giving
Quite
you
happy
back
to
your
be
committee.
Councillor Walsh.
We're giving you back your committee.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. The Deputy Mayor did mention the Summit Center and a couple of things from a community services perspective of programming, and great to see that transition plan in place for programming for that. We deal more with the engineering side of things, and of course the contractors, the main contractor, Marco, and subcontractors. Final commission activities, Your Worship, are ongoing, and of course any deficiencies by the contractors are being corrected now, and I think have moved along very, very well in the last couple of weeks. As the Deputy Mayor said, we're really only within days, if not about a week, of getting people in there, getting staff in there, getting programs up and running. There are 2 levels of inspections that we need to go through. One is at the provincial level, and of course the provincial inspectors and their authorities have been in there, and we're trying to address any concerns that they raise. And very often, you know, the simplest little thing like the height of a rail can be a problem for a facility like that, and just other accessibility issues, and you know, a million other things that could be part of a provincial inspection. But I've experienced little things like a rail and the height of a rail, and all of a sudden you say, well, you can't open that facility until that rail is installed and at a proper height, or the height of a counter. In one case, I know at a school for a cafeteria was a big deal. Had to change the height of the counter completely, all that sort of thing. The other thing, of course, is our own staff, our own planning department people here. We have to go through the same rigorous process. In fact, I'd argue that we should go through an even more rigorous process, but we're certainly not let off the hook, and I want to make sure that the public is aware of that. Our own planning staff don't apply a different set of standards to our facilities than they would to any other public facility. If anything, I think that hold us to an even higher standard. So that work is ongoing as well, and we're looking forward to the turning of the key and getting some staff in there and getting programs operating out of Summit Center. In terms of the summer activity report, this week, Your Worship, is the last week of bulk garbage for the free scheduled pickup. That was a pilot project. It worked really, really well. We had a scheduled pickup early in the spring citywide, and then if you needed a pickup only in the summertime, you called and you scheduled an appointment, and we were averaging 25 to 35 per week. But I guess knowing that the end was in sight, we have about 60 for the final pickup schedule for this week. It requires a lot of our person power, as well as heavy equipment, backhoes and that sort of thing, and loaders to get this especially with some of the iron and steel, the metal works at the end as well. So the regular schedule of fall pickup begins the week of September 8th, and of course there's a color-coded calendar on the website that people can check, or you can just call the depot if you're wondering about the schedule, but it's very readily available on the city's website.
Can I just speak to that, Councillor Walsh?
Sure can.
The bulk garbage.
Good, Deputy Mayor.
I've had probably 5 or 6 people comment actually on how much they appreciated the opportunity to arrange individual pickups. I availed of it yesterday. I noticed that my neighbour had some items out, so I called and said, well, while the trucks are here, if you could pick up a couple of items. And yes, a dump truck had to come, and the pickup truck and the front end loader. But these guys were super efficient. I mean, they came to our two locations. I'm going to suggest they were there no more than 3 minutes to pick up a hot water boiler, a fridge, a stove. They loaded it in, they put it on the truck. So they did a remarkable job. But I just wanted to...
Of course, the job is not done then.
No.
It has to be disposed of.
Absolutely. But they were super efficient. And again, I just wanted to echo the compliments from, again, several of the residents that came forward. They thought it was a great initiative. The fact that we had one in the spring and that we'll have another final one. But they liked the flexibility, Your Worship, of being able to call up when they needed it. And I think it was collected on Mondays, and I've heard nothing but praise for that particular pilot project.
Do you think it's possible that because we didn't have a service like that, a washer ended up in the river? I wonder.
No, there's no excuse for it.
I know. Well, now there's really no excuse, is
Right.
there?
Yeah, well, they can call.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just wanted to pass it on, Councillor Walsh.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
good. Thank you
Well,
very much.
Thank you for that, Your Worship. I'm sure the staff will hear about that from the Director, and it's nice to hear positive feedback from our public and from our councillors concerning that service. Other than that, the regular roads work is ongoing, and there's nothing in particular related to parks other than the fact that the general cleanup, replacement of equipment, of a cleanup of our open spaces and recreational areas, that's ongoing, of course. Part of that is just regular scheduled maintenance as well of things like the soccer fields, the baseball fields, the softball fields, and just cutting our open spaces and generally cleaning up the city. We never get to all of it, so if any member of the public or any member of council, for that matter, sees an area that needs to be tended to, we can just let our staff know, and they'll immediately address that. As you said earlier, Councillor Tessier, our director was writing furiously about that area down by Pipers that I'm sure over the next short period of time will be addressed. That's the kind of thing where we work together with, whether it's a green team or a community group or an organization. If it's identified, we'll try to address it as best we can, and I'm sure we'll be on that and others as well. So that's it for Public Works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Planning and Development Committee, Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item that we have on our agenda is to do with Old Placentia Road, number 1. It's a request from OceanX to occupy for a temporary time the entire parcel at 1 Old Placentia Road as a light industrial use. This is for tractor-trailer storage and a circulation yard. As I mentioned, this would be for a short-term storage as the trailers await delivery to customers. The trailers are going to be remaining on wheels as long as they're parked. Now, it's important to note that this particular site is somewhat adjacent to Talon Place, where we did experience a bit of an issue with some dust that was sort of blown around early in the summer. Now, OceanX was contacted by our city staff regarding this particular issue. I want to note that OceanX and their property owner, Principal Holdings, did respond very quickly to our inquiries. Mitigation measures have been put in place, including the spreading of calcium over gravel, the spreading of water, and the placement of a water truck on the site so that water can be spread quickly. Of course, all staff from OceanX have also been instructed to try to reduce speed and therefore reduce the dust at that particular site. At the same time, our Engineering Services Division has received requests from Newfoundland Power to install power to the site. After speaking to the applicant, it was noted there's a security trailer on site. There was currently a generator that was used to power the trailer itself, but Newfoundland Power had been contacted to provide a bit more permanent power source for the duration of the time that this particular use is proposed to be there. As this was discussed in committee, we wondered, of course, perhaps if there was a need to pave the area and therefore permanently reducing the dust that would have been in the area. We determined that, if it was a temporary site, a temporary use, it was probably not necessary to go ahead and pave the entire lot. But if the use was proposed to go anywhere beyond December 31st of 2014, that it would be considered more of a permanent use, and that at that point we would certainly require that paving be completed on the entire lot. Therefore, the recommendation of the committee is that the proposal by OceanX to occupy the parcel at 1 Opal Central Road as a tractor-trailer storage and circulation yard on a temporary basis be granted and a development permit be issued, subject to the following conditions. Of course, you'll see the conditions outlined in the kit, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Walsh. I'm going to refer to item number 3 in the recommendation, Councillor. It says some form of visual screening along the rear fence be required as part of this permit. How do we make that happen? Like right now, we're going to give them their permit. They're already there. What happens to get that visual?
Your Worship, is our intention to have the green plastic slats that go in the chain link fencing?
That's their intent, or is it our intent?
That's our intent. That's what we're going to require.
And we've told them that,
Yes, Your Worship.
and they have said yes, they'll do that.
Well, they don't know if they said yes, but we've advised them that's what will be done.
That's going to have to be a requirement of this thing going
Yes, Your
forward.
Worship, yeah.
Because I think that visual barrier will solve some of the problem that they had this summer. Of course, we're not necessarily going to get another 24 days of 20-plus degrees of dry weather either. So,
The only thing, Your Worship, if I could, just,
You know.
and we've discussed this in committee. Up to this point in time, OceanX has been very, very fast to respond to.
oh yeah,
like,
we're not dealing with
by
any kind of
putting a-
renegade
yeah,
corporate
like,
citizen
by-
here.
by
We're dealing with a
putting
very good corporate
water
citizen.
truck and leaving it on the site. I mean,
Yeah.
that's almost unheard of. You know that they're obviously very serious about making sure that everything is done to mitigate any harm that could be caused by, like you said, that kind of extreme warm weather conditions and the dust that was available in July. The other thing, of course, we have to remind ourselves that this is a temporary permit only. It's or a finite permit up to the end of December. We would have different conditions. For example, we would not want to see that as an unpaved area or the access to that area as being unpaved if they were to apply for a permanent location. Of course, we'd have to consider whether or not a permanent location would even be suitable for that site for starters. But if it were suitable, it would be under a completely different set of conditions. We're allowing this now knowing that it's only for a fall period of time. The request is as a temporary location. They've put in place a lot of initiatives and responded to our request for mitigation efforts, and we don't see any problem going forward. But if it were to become a more permanent location, there would be a number of different things that OceanX would be requested to do, and I'm sure would do to comply with that if that ever were to happen.
Your Worship.
Councillor Aker?
Yeah, I've had some discussions with the neighbors up in that area. Basically, the issue is the dust. The noise has picked up a little bit, but it is an industrial park. But the issue is the dust, and I'm assuming that on December of this year, basically, this will all be revisited. Basically, they'll decide if they're going forward, and if they are, we're going to sit down with them and figure out a way of making sure the dust gets mitigated. Ideally, and I think committee is pretty firm that it should be paved. I don't know if they're going to do the chain link fence right away. I can't imagine they're going to put that in, but maybe the slats in just for the rest of the fall, or is that the plan? Ideally, we would like to, right? So I think it's a good temporary arrangement. Hopefully, the wet weather continues that we've had in August. But we do get dry weather, so going forward, if this becomes a permanent arrangement, I think the paving would be really, really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final thoughts, Councillor Ledwell, or will I call the vote?
No, just very briefly, Your Worship, just to say that certainly we're very aware as a committee, and the department is aware of the dust issues that exist at Talon Place, and certainly we're going to try our best to ensure that those issues get mitigated, and that the fencing gets put in, and that we certainly hold them to the water and the calcium and everything that's outlined in this report.
Thank you. We'll call the question. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
Our second item, Your Worship, is an application for a discretionary use at 22 to 24 Commonwealth Avenue. Of course, everybody knows this is the Irving site across the street here on Commonwealth. It's an application from May Design and Cobalt Management Corporation. It's for a proposed 3-tenant building with a partial demolition and an extension to accommodate a gas bar, convenience store, a drive-through coffee shop, and a possible short-order restaurant, such as a pizza shop. They're also going to do some work to potentially realign some of the access on St. David's Avenue, and the Southern Commonwealth Avenue access as well will be worked on. Given that this is an intensification on this particular site, the Department of Planning and Development did require that a land use impact assessment be undertaken. so that we could properly gauge and sort of identify any concerns, whether they be with noise or with traffic, or with even I guess, pedestrian traffic on the site. Any potential impacts that this particular development could have on the site certainly form part of that assessment. In addition to that, we did hold a briefing session during the month of July on the 21st, so to give the public an opportunity to comment and bring forward any comments or concerns or issues they might have. And you see the concerns that were brought forward at that particular meeting listed in the kit. They revolve around, of course, increased traffic, increased potential crime, the hours of operation. Of course, was the question whether or not this was going to be a 24-hour operation. Some noise, both related to individuals being outside at the site into the late hours, but also revolving around snow clearing and different services being provided to the site. Now, some of these concerns were addressed during the discussion at that particular briefing session. However, the main concerns still remain: late night noise and light from snow clearing, and the question around whether or not it's going to be a 24-hour operation. One thing I will note in regards to the noise from snow clearing, the proponent did advise at the briefing session that they're going to require to have their tenants have bulk snow removal done during the daytime hours. So that will sort of go a long way towards, I guess, addressing some of the concern with noise related to snow clearing. With regards to the question of 24-hour operation, the city does have the authority to regulate hours of operation, but there would have to be new regulations adopted in order to accomplish that and to allow us the authority to do that. And up to this point, there has not been an appetite, I guess, to regulate the hours of store operation. So at this point, we're not really recommending that we would move forward with some new regulations. However, we would certainly ask the proponent to do their best to sort of work with us in terms of trying to mitigate the noise and any light that might emanate from this particular proposal. You see there in the kit, there's a list of options that or a list of, I guess, concerns and points that we will bring forward to the proponent in terms of whether or not they would be able, this actual proposal would be accepted. You'll see that we would require further noise mitigation measures would be had to be put in place. Something to address the lighting that would emanate from the building itself would have to be addressed. And certainly we would be looking at the St. David's access off the site and onto the site. We would have to work with the proponent to try and address the proper flow of traffic on to the site at 22 to 24 Commonwealth. We discussed it at committee, and certainly we think it's an improvement onto what's already there. The current development has 2 garage bays that are currently not being used. So we identified that as something that could be changed. We could see more use on this particular site, providing that we were able to allow for the proper flow of traffic. In terms of the noise mitigation and the effects of the mitigation of the effects of light from the site, we would discuss the recommendation that they be required to construct an 8-foot high fence between the residential properties in the area and the back of the development, so that would sort of reduce the effects of noise and light on the residential homes. So in conclusion, it is the recommendation of the Planning and Development Committee that a development permit be issued for the redevelopment of the property at 22 to 24 Commonwealth Avenue for a 3-tenant building comprised of a gas bar and store, drive-through coffee shop, and short-order restaurant, and that the inclusion of an 8-foot high fence be included between the residential properties that back onto the subject property. And I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Okay, moving right along. Our next item is to do with 9 Sagona Avenue. And it is an amendment that was put in place and discussed, and it hasn't been put in place yet, I guess. It's the amendment number 13 from the municipal plan and amendment number 38 to the development regulations. This is to do with an application from East Coast Hydraulics to designate a portion of the land along the north and northeast sides of 9 Sagona Avenue from recreational open space to industrial, and the same portion of land will be rezoned from open space to industrial light. Of course, the purpose of this particular amendment, or these amendments, is to enlarge the existing industrial lot to accommodate a proposed extension. You'll see there that there was a public hearing scheduled for August 18th, 2014, and there was a notice mailed to 28 property owners within a 150-meter radius of the property. Notice of the proposed hearing was put in the Telegram on August 2nd and the 9th and posted on the city's website. So everybody should have known about this. There were no responses to the amendment, to the proposed amendment. So you'll see the recommendation there. The committee certainly supports and recommends that the amendments be approved by council and that to be sent to the provincial government for their approval as well. And I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
The second amendment, Your Worship, this one is to do with Pollux Drive. These are amendments number 12 to the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan and number 37 to the development regulations. You'll see the detail there as to what exactly is being rezoned and amended. Basically, this is sort of a housekeeping amendment, a cleaning up of the plan for the development up on Pollux Drive. Basically, it's to get the green space in the area into a more usable format, and also to ensure that there is a consistency to the building lots in the area and to make them all large enough as per the regulations. Again, there was a public hearing scheduled. It was scheduled for August 19th, 7 p.m. There was a notice that was mailed out to 74 residents in the area. We did receive no responses to the request for the public hearing. However, I will note that there was a briefing session that was held in the month of July. I think there was some misunderstanding amongst the residents as to exactly what was involved with this particular amendment, but once we did have it explained at the briefing session and some discussion was held, I think most of the folks in attendance certainly were certainly okay with the moving ahead with this particular amendment. So it is the recommendation that the amendments here be approved by council and that the amendment be forwarded to the Department of Municipal and Intergovernmental Affairs for their registration, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Commentary? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Moving right along, we have a report of some deficiencies with reefer repair services. This is 172 to 180 Glencoe Drive. You'll see there are several outstanding issues with regards to this particular property. You'll notice there landscaping, the regrading of the rear yard bank, which continues to encroach on the pipeline right away, and thirdly, a repair of the front entranceway to address water ponding issues. Staff have repeatedly attempted to contact the representatives of Reefer Repair Services and asked that these outstanding items be addressed. To date, they have not been addressed. So it is recommended that the issuance of the order, of an order, I should say, to the property owners to have the appropriate items addressed within the next couple of weeks, or the city will take action to complete the items and invoice the company accordingly, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Next item, Your Worship, is just a little plug for the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. Of course, they're going to be hosting their Business Expo 2014 on September 24th. This is an opportunity for local businesses to showcase themselves, an opportunity for some networking, to make good new contacts, and to raise awareness of the products and services being offered by these businesses to the general public. You'll note there, it says in the report there are 14 booths left, but actually now there are 12 as of today. So space is running out. Any business owners that might be interested should view the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce website or contact the Chamber directly for information on the Business Expo. So that's just for the information of the public.
Where's this being held?
It's being held at the Reed Center.
At the Reed Center, yep.
Yeah. Moving right along, the annual Youth Ventures Awards were held here in town on August 14th. You'll see there that this summer 22 youth venture site coordinators located throughout Newfoundland and Labrador have helped more than 200 youth plan, start, and run a business this summer. Now, our own Steve Butler was asked as a representative of the Economic Development Division with our city to present an Excellence in Customer Service Award at this year's event. He presented to Mitchell Jeans for his business in Port aux Basques. But Mr. Butler also noted that the Youth Ventures Award for Mentor of the Year was presented to Megan Warren from the band Repartee. Now, Megan worked with two aspiring young musicians, John Pike and Gordon Huckster, through the Metro Business Opportunities Youth Ventures office that's located right here in Mount Pearl. So we want to bring this matter, I guess, to the attention of council and to the attention of the public, and congratulate Megan for her award.
Excellent, excellent. We will do that.
Getting to the end of it, the next item that we have is the development permit list for the period of August 11th to the 22nd. You see the 4 permits listed there, and I'd like to move those.
Moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Last 2 items, Your Worship. First of all, the residential permit list for the period of August 11th to the 22nd of 2014. You see there we have a total residential for this period of 151,600, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And finally, we have our commercial listings for the same period. We had a busy period this time, a total of $1,464,510,000, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
That wraps up.
That's Planning and Land Use. Thank you. Transportation Public Safety Committee, Councillor Tessier.
Good Lord, that's enough from planning, for God's sakes. Very, very, very short Transportation and Public Safety Committee report, but very important. The children are back in school next week. It's imperative that our motorists not only be mindful of the children, but give yourself some extra time. You're going to be delayed. If you are used to leaving your house at 7:45 and getting to work for 8:30, you got to give yourself some more time.
What's the actual first day?
The actual first day is technically the 3rd. Some schools have been delayed until the 4th.
Okay.
And some schools in Mount Pearl have actually been delayed. Yeah, have been delayed until the 4th.
Because of the changeover.
Because of the changeover, teachers need a little more time to get their classrooms ready because there was a lot of work that needed to be done on a couple of the buildings. So as a result, a little extra time is required. So it's just another day. So in the interest of safety and preparedness for everybody, I guess the school district decided to delay opening by a day for some schools. And I think that's wise. So again, our children are going to be out and about. We want you to be mindful of school zones, signage, speed limits, school entrances and exits, because people are going to be coming and going by the thousands. We all know that. So be mindful of them because they are not going to see you. They're going to be either excited or absolutely poisoned to be back to school, one or the other.
I was always excited to go back, but poisoned by the weekend.
Absolutely.
Usually how it works.
Yeah,
What?
that's how it works. That's how
That's
it
usually how it
works.
went, doesn't it? Right? You
But
know,
it's
Wednesday morning, first day of school, excitement. By Friday,
Yeah.
sick of it again.
But it is imperative that people give themselves extra time because you will be delayed. You absolutely will be
Yeah.
delayed on our major thoroughfares, and to be very, very cautious amongst our children.
We do that. Thank you very much. We are now going to, that concludes all committee reports. We're moving on to new business. Deputy Mayor.
Several things here, Your Worship. First has to do with resurfacing of our outdoor courts. These came in just prior to the meeting. So for the information of our public, we have started work on resurfacing the following outdoor courts: Trafalgar Nelson Park courts. The courts on Trafalgar Drive are going to be closed during renovations starting on August 26th for approximately 2 weeks. And we'll have signage posted in the area. The Park Avenue basketball courts and the track and field long jump. There will also be limited access to these courts. However, they will not be closed to the general public as of yet. So just a note to the public that this resurfacing will take place. Another one has to do with Youth Performing Arts Showcase. It'll take place Saturday, August the 30th, here in the Centennial Street City Hall gazebo, the park outside here. This showcase will start at 3 p.m. and go until 5 p.m. and has a number of young artists here from Mount Pearl. The lineup is as follows. Jenny Mallard will be playing the guitar. Female Cade Bailey, Lauren and Andy Windsor, sisters, are going to be playing the keyboard. The Free Action Improv team, they performed at one of the Arts in the Park. They're fantastic. Erin Pretty will be playing the guitar. Tori Hines will also be performing, and Joseph Coffin will also be playing the guitar. So again, from 3 to 5 p.m. on August the 30th, that's a Saturday, outside City Hall here at the in the gazebo. So hopefully we'll get a lot of people out.
This Saturday, this coming Saturday. Yeah.
This Saturday, yep.
Who's the organizer?
It just says, see? Ariana's youth team. Okay, yep. So good stuff. So the other two items there, Your Worship. Another one that I just wanted to raise, I had a call from a resident, and I know this has surfaced before. I remember Councillor Walsh speaking of this a couple of years back, having to do with the parking of trailers, RVs, camper trailers, on our streets. And the concern for this resident, and they asked if I could, sort of mention it publicly, and their concern was, well, it's not a big deal if you're going to park it there and, for an short duration. But in this particular situation, it's been parked there since the May 24th weekend, the first week of May, when they took it out of storage. It's one of these, 24 to 30-foot travel trailers. It's large. But the design of this particular street is there's not enough room for the owner of the trailer to park it out front of their house. So they have it down the street, parked at the bottom of this resident's driveway. Pardon me? Well, it's impeding getting into and out of the.
And it's been there since the 24th of May?
Right. So
can't we do something about that?
Well, he contacted the MEOs, and our MEOs were quick to respond, he said, and they came up. But they're not in violation. They're permitted to park there. And this was an issue before, because we talked about this. Like, some people have boats, large boats, some people have RVs and all this sort of stuff. So they're not really breaking any of our parking regulations. But the resident questioned this, and the concern was, one, is that it's one of the narrower streets in Mount Pearl, so it's taken up the full lane of the street. So for people to get around this trailer, they have to come over into the other lane. But the big concern was the difficulty that this resident had, getting into and out of the driveway. It's okay if you back into the driveway, they were indicating, pull out, but many of the visitors come in, they pull headlong into the driveway, so when they're backing down, it's tough to navigate.
Not a one-way street.
No, it's not a one-way street. So I raise it here. If we can take it back and have a look at it again, and I know that there's hundreds of these around the city, and people come home from the cabin on the weekend. Maybe they park it on the street to offload or what have you. But the question of this resident was, should not some consideration be given to streets that are sort of a little narrower, or should we limit the duration?
Park in front of your own door.
Right. But if it's not possible, they say, well, if you're going to park, you got to park in front of your own property, and if you can't park in front of your own property, well, you can't park down the street to tie up and impede.
That's kind of difficult to do, but I do favor very much the whole concept of limiting the duration. Having a bylaw somewhere in the city that says, if it is your intent to be parked in a public space, in a public street, for more than a continuous run of 12 hours, a permit or approval from the city will be required. Mm-hmm. A vehicle left for 12 or more hours parked on a city street unattended will be deemed to have been abandoned by the city, and the city will tow it. Tell me why we can't do something like that.
Well, let's send it back to committee and have a look at it.
Make sure that we look at the implications of it, because
well, that's all. I'm just proposing we investigate
for
it.
every exception, there's probably 99 where there's not a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that in making the changes, we don't make a rod for our own back.
Right. Right.
Okay. Send it back, look at it, see if there's a way to correct that kind of an anomaly, because that seems to be a problem.
Right.
For sure, no one would want to have that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other issues is
Especially when it's in front of somebody else's door, not your own.
Exactly.
But if you put a time limit on, you know what's going to happen. They're going to move the vehicle and then come back 24 hours later.
Right.
Oh, man, what
We
an
don't allow
annoyance.
commercial
What an
vehicles.
annoyance that is for them.
So why don't we, maybe the committee could look at the length of the vehicle too. That's one of the issues here. It's the size.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that it's a car or a pickup.
I've always
We don't
argued
allow
that these
commercial
great
vehicles.
big RVs should no more be allowed in somebody's
Than a tractor
driveway
trailer.
than a tractor trailer. It's the same visual obstruction, but hey, we have allowed it.
Well, they're in the driveway. That's one thing, but on the road in front of your neighbor's
Yeah, that's a bit much.
house for
With an extender out.
for
That was my Holland V.
Yeah.
They had the side extender out to another 3 feet, trying it out.
right. And in some cases, I've heard they've had relatives come in, not in
And
this
stay
particular
there.
not in this particular situation,
Guest house then.
but it's a guest house.
I've seen
Hook up the power and
Well, they plug it into their house, and you got people
extension cords.
camping. Yes, absolutely. So I said I would bring it up, and I did, and we'll bring it back to committee and see if we can't come up with, to Councillor Walsh's point, we don't want to change the whole thing, because in 99% of the cases it's not an issue, but in some cases it is, and I was concerned about the safety hazard in that it's actually occupying, because I drove up there, one of the full lanes there, and I said we'd have a look at it. So that's it for
I
me,
think
Your
that's
Worship.
good. Thank you very much. Councillor Walsh.
Nothing for me.
Nothing for you. Councillor Tessier. Councillor Aker.
Yeah, I have an item that was given to me by the Director of Corporate Services, and it relates to the 2014 to 2019 gas tax agreement.
And did you add that to the agenda when we asked for items to
Well,
be
I
added
would
to
have
the
been,
agenda?
Your Worship, if I
But
was
you were late,
here,
weren't you?
So you've got me on both accounts.
Okay, that means you pay for the coffee.
I do. Well, no, I'm going to pass that on because I believe the word multiplex was used in our kit earlier on. I'll leave it to you guys to find out. But it wasn't
Somebody
mentioned by
used the
me.
word multiplex.
Yeah, it was
Who
in the
would that sinner have been?
I noticed that Councillor Aker, you picked up on it and did not say it.
Well,
He's a good
I
Christian.
I was forced to.
He was banking it.
He was banking it.
So there's a
Yes,
request
gas
from
tax,
Minister
yeah.
Crummell, and the agreement is here.
Yes.
Going forward for the next 5 years, it's interesting to note that the gas tax agreement has become more flexible. You can now use the gas tax for your provincial, for your share, the municipal share of any cost-sharing work that's to be done. The categories of work that's allowed has been greatly expanded.
Yeah, that's really broad.
And there's carryovers too. So ultimately, if you don't spend it all in 1 year, you can carry it over to others. So it's a 10-year agreement. There have been allocations made, and this is done largely based on population. Mount Pearl will see an average over the next 5 years from 14-15. This is all fiscal years of the provincial government, I'm assuming. From 14-15 to 18-19 of a 5-year total of $5,113,457. And we've been getting gas tax, I'm led to believe, since 2006. And even though we take this for granted, like it represents every year $1 million, about 2.5% of our budget. I wanted to give out some kudos to several government organizations who probably worked as hard on this probably before 2006 to see it happen. But nonetheless, thanks to FCM, MNL, the provincial government, as well as all the municipalities for their efforts in securing this important funding and, more importantly, keeping it flowing. And I'd like to move, Your Worship, that you and the CAO sign that agreement. Thank you.
It is moved, and who's seconding that? Seconded by Councillor Tessier. Question or comment? The new gas tax agreement to be signed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all new business. Councillor Ledwell.
I'll be very.
No, I meant for him.
Oh. I'll be very brief, Your Worship. I feel like I've probably talked enough, to be honest.
Well, you had the biggest report of the day.
I did. I often do. In any case, just want to quickly congratulate and thank the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl for their Arts in the Park series that they held very recently. Of course, there were 3 events on Monday nights in the month of August. I know that in some cases the weather didn't cooperate and perhaps it was a small crowd, but certainly a good crowd, if you know what I mean. And just want to thank them for the work that they continue to do to advocate for arts in our community. Of course, they've got their big event coming up. September 13th to the 20th is Arts Week in Mount Pearl, so mark your calendars. The Art Fusion Festival itself is on the 13th, so that's all coming up, and all their information is on amp.ca, amp.ca.
Thank you very much. A couple of small items from me. The first one is that this coming Thursday afternoon, Reverend David Burrows with the Anglican Diocese, the Church of Ascension here in Mount Pearl, will be hosting an event at St. David's, getting underway at about 3 o'clock. Council is invited to attend for an hour or so. He's doing the Racing with the Reverend and raising money for autism and autism awareness and research. They did this through the Targa race last year. They're doing it again this year. They're going to be receiving a very significant donation from the Ice Caps on Thursday coming, but they're going to have a thing up there for the kids in St. David's Field. They got a bouncy castle and all that stuff. There's going to be some barbecued food and things of that nature around. All of council, if you wanted to wander by for that presentation for a half an hour, feel free to do it. It's going to run between 3 and 6 o'clock this coming Thursday, the 28th, and you would be welcome. Now, I need a show of hands. How many of you have done the Ice Bucket Challenge?
I nominated the whole.
I'm not going to be doing the whole.
Yeah, well, you get a pass.
I'm exempt.
John gets a pass. Are you telling me every one of you, are you lying to me?
I can prove it.
I did mine Saturday night.
I've got the video.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to jug of water, Your Worship.
And it's ice water.
I'm going to have to do it with Dennis O'Keefe, and I thought some of you guys hadn't gotten saddled with the thing.
All right. Well ahead. Did it over a week ago.
Well, that ends new business, and it breaks my frigging heart. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Seeing you've got to pass, Councillor Walsh, you make the motion. We stand adjourned. I got to do it alone.